Any other questions for David?
Just have one question. Is the Princess Street boom gates,
Yes.
highly anticipated, is that the last of the boom gates that have to be put in along the line?
I suspect that Anderson's Road will be next. We've had a number of near misses with Anderson's Road. I came up here on a works train just 3 weeks ago and we had a near miss at Anderson's Road and then we had a near miss at Princess Street on the way out. You're all well aware of the car we hit with our heritage service on Sunday, no doubt. A little bit of irony there was the chap from Bombardier actually arrived to check to see that the electrical connections had been made to the boom gate cabinets while all of that was going on. So,
yeah, I saw him put his paperwork in the box.
So the hold-up with that has been unexpected pipes with Barwon water, and I believe, Chris, what the approved plans got passed last week.
Approved plan, engineering plans got approved by Barwon Water last Friday, I think it was, so they're actually able to start construction of that, of which I spoke to them again today. They should be back on site tentative 4th of May. Okay. So they should be back on site doing the work to the water main, and then from there they'll put the foundations in for the boom.
And I have to say that because I'm not just the chairman of the railway, but I'm also locomotive crew, so I fired the Blues train on Sunday night and we had a near miss at Anderson's Road on Sunday night. I was on a diesel fireman doing a light engine up here where Princess Street, we had a motorist stop that far from the locomotive in the intersection. And I have to say the worst offenders are the mums picking their kids up from school. I had a meeting here at 3 o'clock at the station, and as I deliberately drove up Princess Street and I watched the mums coming back from school and not one of them slowed for the level crossing or looked, and we just had a steam train out of there about 15 minutes beforehand because we had a driver experience train this afternoon. So it actually is quite frightening for us. I know Chris made a comment to the Vic Roads guy when he said, why does a tourist railway need to have a grade separation? And as I said, 1,000 train movements a year increasing, and it only takes one of those to hit a car. So far we haven't had any fatalities, but this chap was quite lucky.
If he had a passenger in his car, he would have been dead.
Yes, and it's all just a matter of time. The reason those gates have gone in is they were the highest risk level crossing in Victoria, and Anderson's Road with its IDRs is not far behind in terms of the number of near misses.
We estimate Anderson's Road's about 3 years away, based on the current numbers on the statewide register.
Okay. Rick, there has a question at the back.
Have you approached Roger Grant from the Geelong City Council for any sort of assistance?
I haven't met with Roger.
Ballarat Tourism.
Ballarat Tourism. Roger's given me a number of names of people to talk to, but in terms of assistance from them, there is no funding there, and in fact, the Regional Development Victoria has been restructured under the new government, and the programs under which we got the current grant that the borough and ourselves are discharging no longer exists. And there was a new manager from RDV came down and met with council and myself some 3 weeks ago, and some of that grant money is up in the air at the moment. The Labor government is determining how it's going to be restructured. The other thing that has changed from our point of view is the Liberal government has changed. We have to come up with 250,000 cash, which we do not have in our reserves. So we have to look at other creative ways of how we can deal with something like that. And to do our track, we're looking somewhere between $2.5 to $3 million. So for us to come up with $1.25 million without taking a massive bank loan that would be highly risky is also a bit difficult. So I'm talking to the state government about other ways that we may approach that. And the reason I mention the track is if we're able to upgrade the track, which is, well, not if, but when, and we return to the speeds of running that we had before, we'll be able to run more regular services, faster services, longer turnaround times, or possibly even more services during the day. Volunteers and crew permitting, of course. We're also always open to anybody who would like to come and assist on the railway. So Elaine and Doug and Don are sitting up the back there, and Jeff. Yes, Jeff on the end.
Can we get a commission out of that? Because we got membership forms up there for us too. One question here, because we want to move on. We've got a few things to do.
I apologise for my ignorance, but what What's the building at the Drysdale station to the right of the car park? What's it used for?
Is that the one up near High Street? Or
Yeah.
that's the Mosa Cottage. The Ballarat workers have used that over the years for their office. I think they actually now operate out here instead. But the Ballarat Historical Society take care of it.
And is there just
It's
nothing
just
in
an old shearer's cottage from the area that had to be removed from the farm and it was placed there.
Does it make a little tourist?
It would make a great cafe. Which would bring people to the Drysdale into the station.
Yes. The Ballarat Historical Society are responsible for that building. So you can talk to
I just wondered if it was
Bob.
something
Bob is
to
in
look
Lily
at.
over at the vacuum shop in Hancock Street and tell you all about it. So
And just to clarify, when I talked earlier about the bypass, we have a lease on the railway reservation. We originally started under an order in council in '79. We're currently, I think, 2 and a bit years into a 25-year lease with an option to renew. But our landlord is VicTrack and Public Transport Victoria own the corridor, and it is zone public transport between here and the boundary with Queenscliff. And that's why VicTrack and Public Transport Victoria and the Heritage Advisor under PTV and ourselves have all said no to anything other than a grade separation for the bypass. You also mentioned, you were talking briefly about public transport. We also have seen proposals by Public Transport Victoria for a return of heavy rail to Drysdale. They've actually they've done a costing on it, and it wasn't based on either side of politics. But there is a shovel-ready proposal there to return heavy rail to Drysdale. We've given in principle support to it, but based on a particular station plan which would keep heavy rail on the other side of High Street rather than coming onto our side. So that's just something to be aware of, that actually has been done, and it wasn't pushed by either side of politics. It was something PTV had done.
Thank you for that, David. One of the things you just said about, it leads into our next thing about how to improve the entrance to our township. And a lot of people have said to me over the years, the blue signs that we have, welcome to the Ballarat and welcome to Clifton Springs and welcome to wherever else, are pretty, I won't use the word, but they're pretty horrible. So a lot of people are looking at what can we do to give some of these things a bit of an upgrade. What do we do about the entrance to the town, about what's on, where is it, whether it's at the station, which seems to be an obvious point in my view, where it should be. So I think there's a real opportunity where we could tart the place up a bit, because it is a bit dull when we come into town. If someone coming from Queenscliff on the train, what do I do? There needs to be some direction there about where to go, what to do in Drysdale. And I think other people with more intelligence and probably skills of doing something like this must be out there. So I'd be interested to hear what you have to offer or say there.
Most people come by car.
I don't know, a lot of people do, but you've got the walking track around Lake Lawn, but there must be a lot of other things we can do.
People get off the train and they get off the train and they do what you say. They stand there, look, what do we do here? And we'll just wait till the train turns around and we'll go back again. So they need to be aware that, they can walk around the lake. It takes 20 minutes. So it needs to be signposted that the lake loop is 20 minutes. That the township is, a kilometre and a half with a footpath all the way.
Yes.
And that they can get to McLeod's Waterholes, down Crimea Street, past Crimea House, and then back again in 15 minutes. Those signs that have the distance and the approximate walking time. Yeah, short walks or something. Yeah. So you can see a street sign that says it's this way and it takes you this way, this long.
Elaine, you had to hand up there?
Yeah, one of the reasons why I raised some of the things around the fact that we've got a really incredible area down there and a perfect entrance into Drysdale that we can develop and enhance for everybody's benefit, the railway, Drysdale, the community as a whole, is because when we're down there doing the gardens and things, the amount of people that stop and ask questions is phenomenal. I feel like I should be working for Roger Grant, because the amount of people that you're answering questions for. but there's the amount of people that come through there commuting on bikes, not just the weekend, all through the day during the week. The amount of families going down there to use the playground, and people aren't just walking to that playground, they're driving to that playground. There's information boards down there that unfortunately are out of date, and so they're not really giving good communication or information about what we actually have in Drysdale. You know, there's so much more that we could do to actually explore our heritage and really sell our community and what we've got here. And people constantly stop there. The public toilets alone. The amount of people that just drive in there, stop, go to the loo, wander around, stop and have a coffee because there's a perfect coffee stop there. It's amazing, you know, to stand there. If you were doing a traffic study, pedestrianised traffic study, it would be a phenomenal turnover. And so there is that time and there is an audience, but there's such a broad audience. And then just add on all those tourists that come through on the railway, coming through Queenscliff, down to Drysdale, to get them to stay, okay, fine, instead of just turning around, getting back on the train after they bought the ice cream to go back, to actually get them to stay and get them that bit further out into our community, because when that bypass goes through, we are going to lose some of that incidental traffic. So we need to do things now to encourage people to still come in here and spend money with our, you know, with our different retailers.
Does everyone sort of agree with that concept that there needs to be some work done at that station?
Information centre. Information centre.
Yeah.
At least a map. At least a map. There's a civic guide there, though, isn't there?
Yeah, but unfortunately it's very out of date. Some people who actually advertising on that board no longer exist.
There's a lady here with a hand up.
I have a suggestion. I don't know if it's appropriate, but play equipment with children having fun. I really love adult equipment, exercise equipment. I
All the
think,
way around the lake, like at the Ocean Road Park.
well, there's various equipment that adults, I won't say elderly, but older people can do their exercise,
Yeah.
while the children do their.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Wonderful idea, thank you for that.
I assume it's still there for adults, but
Is it?
there's no children's one down there.
Okay.
You know, you've got one's there and one's up there.
Yeah, you don't want to leave the kids up there watching you down there, that won't do.
And the other thing I was going to mention, that you say about people passing, now, every Sunday, or thereabout, you either get the Harley Davidsons going through, the MG Club going through, the Morris Minor Clubs going through, lots of historical cars are going through. We're sort of missing that, because I don't know whether they stop in Drysdale or not. But they go past, but they don't stop at the railway, they just go straight into either town or they go straight down to Port Arlington, around the peninsula. Yeah. So some way to stop them, you know, in the town.
Good point. David?
One point I should have made is we would love to have Drysdale as an attraction to sell from the Queenscliff end. But we can't create that attraction at the moment. What our grand plan is, off that turntable, is to have a quality museum that actually is a destination in itself. And because of the way we run two services, you have the ability to, if you can provide something in Drysdale to keep people here, to come up on the first service, like I was saying, and then go back on the second. But at the moment, it is in and out of the station, and I have to say, even from my own point of view, I've come up here a few times on works trains and what have you, when our shop hasn't been open, and, you know, I've wandered down to the service station to grab something to eat before I've gone back. But there is nothing directly that the railway offers in Drysdale. We're not in a position to create that entertainment or that attraction ourselves. We don't have the resources nor necessarily the expertise to do it. But if Drysdale can come up, if the Drysdale community can make Drysdale attractive, well then we can sell that from the Queenscliff end to the passengers that are getting on at the Queenscliff end, both in our brochures at the window, etc. So.